Today we're diving deep into the most important battlefield on Earth. It's a place that's completely invisible, hidden miles under the sea, yet it controls almost every single aspect of your daily life.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. There's a place, a physical location, you've probably never even heard of, but if something happened to it, the modern world would just grind to a halt. We're talking minutes. This is the story of that battlefield.
Now, forget everything you think you know about satellites. It's a common misconception. When you send an email, when you stream a movie, that data isn't getting beamed up into space. Nope. A staggering 99% of it is racing at the speed of light through physical cables lying on the bottom of the ocean.
These cables, they're literally the nervous system of our planet. A vast, hidden network carrying nearly $10 trillion in financial transactions every single day. They are the absolute physical foundation of our digital lives.
So, what exactly is this planetary nervous system made of? Let's, take a closer look at the anatomy of one of these digital lifelines.
What's so wild about this is the contrast, right? At the very, very center, you've got these delicate glass fibers, thinner than a human hair, carrying all our data as pulses of light. But to protect that tiny core from the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, it's wrapped in all these layers: petroleum jelly, copper, steel wires, a tough plastic sheath. And the crazy part? The final size for most of its journey is about as thick as a garden hose.
Okay, so we've seen what these cables are, but now let's talk about where they are, because this is where it gets really interesting. They don't just spread out evenly. Geography forces them into these incredibly narrow, incredibly vulnerable corridors.
And this map, wow, this says it all. Just look at the sheer density of those lines. You have places like the Luzon Strait near Taiwan or the Red Sea. They become digital superhighways. We're talking dozens of cables connecting entire continents, all squeezed through passages that are just a few miles wide.
And that concentration creates what one expert perfectly called a strategic nightmare. A single, well-placed disruption right there doesn't just slow down your Netflix. No way. It could instantly freeze stock markets, halt international banking, and pretty much blind military command centers. You're severing the digital arteries of whole continents.
Now, you can bet this vulnerability hasn't gone unnoticed. There is a new geopolitical great game being played out on the ocean floor, with the world's major powers all fighting for control over this critical infrastructure.
And here's the breakdown of the major players. Each one has a totally different strategy. First, you've got the US, which wants to maintain its historic dominance. It uses security committees to approve or deny projects, usually favoring American allied companies. Then you have China, the aggressive new builder on the block, funding this massive digital Silk Road to connect the world, but on its own terms. And then there's Russia. Russia isn't really focused on building. It's focused on mastering the ability to disrupt, to spy on, and potentially sabotage the whole system.
And when we talk about Russia's capabilities, there's one ship that comes up again and again, the Yantar. Look, this isn't just a ship, it's a mothership. It deploys these deep-sea submersibles that can go down 20,000 feet. It's got robotic arms that can literally manipulate things on the seabed, including, you guessed it, cutting cables. And this ship has a really weird habit of just showing up and loitering, sometimes for days, directly over the most critical data cables in the world.
So this global conflict might seem, really distant and abstract, but the fragility of this system, it has direct consequences for every single one of us. This is where it gets personal.
So while we're all worried about state-sponsored sabotage, and we should be, here's a really surprising fact. Most cable breaks, they're totally accidental. Get this, about 2/3 of the 200 or so faults that happen every year are just caused by fishing trawlers and ships dragging their anchors. It just goes to show you how physically fragile and exposed this system is, day in and day out.
So let's bring this all the way home. Your next Zoom meeting for work. The movie you're going to stream tonight, the money in your bank account, all of it, every bit of that digital information relies entirely on a physical garden hose-sized cable that could be snagged by a fishing net at any moment.
And what happens when that connection is lost? Well, just look at Tonga. Back in 2022, a volcanic eruption cut the nation's only submarine cable. The result was total information isolation. The entire country was knocked offline for 5 weeks. Imagine that happening not to a small island, but on a continental scale.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial takeaway from all of this. We tend to think of cyber warfare as this intangible thing, right? Hackers in dark rooms, code floating through the air. But the reality? Well, it's far more physical.
The future of global power might not be decided by armies on land, but by whoever controls these invisible highways under the sea. The first shot in the next major conflict might not be a missile at all. It might just be a quiet, physical cut, thousands of feet below the surface. To really understand power today, you have to look down, at the seabed, where the real architecture of our world is being built and fought over every single day. This is just one of the invisible systems that control our lives. If you want to see the real map of power, make sure you hit subscribe. Tomorrow, we're going to break down how a single mine in Africa basically dictates the entire future of technology. You don't want to miss it.